Hello my fellow oddities, welcome to a new video, and this is it. This is the epic conclusion of this series that I've been doing ever since March. This is the series where I discuss where to take Mortal Kombat 12, and today we are going to be discussing the story, the big one. Now, of course, I'm not discussing an entire story here where I talk about everything, beat for beat, every scene of the story, because that would just be ridiculous. Instead, I'm going to be briefly describing the plot and then going through every single character and discussing what their role in the story is and what they're going to do in it. And along with the main story, I'll also be talking about a subplot that I will include just to spice things up and not just make it a straight tournament story. So yeah, without further ado, let's talk about where to take the story in Mortal Kombat 12, starting with the main plot. Now, if you've watched the previous videos in this series, then you know that this story is going to be taking place after Liu Kang's Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath ending. So this story is going to be going all the way back to the Great Kung Lao era, which I think is a great new direction for the series to go in, since we've never had a game set in that time period. So the main storyline would be about the tournament where the Great Kung Lao rises up and becomes the champion of Mortal Kombat. But of course, with all the timeline shenanigans and alterations, there's going to be some differences in how the story plays out. Basically, the plot of the main story will go like this. The 10th Mortal Kombat tournament is upon us, the one where Earthrealm must defend itself, or else it'll be absorbed into Outworld. However, this is the one that the protector of Earthrealm, Liu Kang, was waiting for, as this is the one where Kung Lao is supposed to win. Liu Kang is confident in his fighter that he will obtain victory in the Mortal Kombat tournament, until he finds out of another warrior on Outworld's side, Goro, the one that defeated and killed the Great Kung Lao in past timelines. This means Kung Lao now has to step up and become greater than he ever was in any timeline to claim victory in Mortal Kombat. Now, with the main plot description out of the way, let's start getting into the characters and what their role is in the story. Kung Lao, or as we know him, the Great Kung Lao, is going to be the main character of this Mortal Kombat 12 story. His journey as he rises up to become the champion of Mortal Kombat is the main one we follow throughout the story. And by the end, he would manage to defeat Goro and even a powered up Shang Tsung, which we'll talk about a little bit later. At the beginning of the story, Kung Lao is not very confident in himself, and he wonders why did Liu Kang choose him to be the champion of Mortal Kombat. And when Liu Kang tells him that he's seen past timelines where he's a great warrior and great protector of Earthrealm, Kung Lao just wonders, maybe those were past timelines, maybe this timeline is different. But Liu Kang truly believes in Kung Lao and knows that it is not just a timeline that makes a change of whether someone's a great protector or just a nobody. He knows it is Kung Lao's destiny to become the champion of Mortal Kombat. Speaking of Liu Kang, now, at the end of Mortal Kombat 11, Liu Kang was a fire and thunder god, as well as being the new protector of Earthrealm, as well as the keeper of time. And with him being the first character in all of Mortal Kombat history to have this much of a responsibility to all of these different things, it's going to be a lot for him to handle. And so he works with the other gods for guidance, specifically Fujin. Like, in this timeline, Fujin would be even more of a right-hand man to Liu Kang than he was to Raiden in the original timelines. Now, since Liu Kang has a lot of knowledge from past timelines, he makes a lot of informed decisions just for the overall balance of the realms. And when recruiting his Earthrealm fighters to fight in the tournament, he doesn't just choose the best warriors or fighters or combatants to fight in the tournament because they may have a better chance of winning. He specifically chooses the protectors, characters who look after and defend the weak. This is because Liu Kang knows from past timelines that protectors are the best fighters for Earthrealm. Now, we've discussed the main heroes of the story. Let's talk about the main villains. And first up, we have... Now, Shang Tsung in this game would pretty much be the exact same he was in the original timeline, a conniving and treacherous sorcerer who also happens to be the host of the Mortal Kombat tournament. Throughout the story, Shang Tsung tries to discreetly break the rules of Mortal Kombat. The main way he does this is by sending Quan Chi to assassinate the Earthrealm fighters so that they can't compete in the tournament, and so Outworld wins. And at the end of the story, when Kung Lao defeats Goro and challenges Shang Tsung is like, okay, I'm not stronger than Goro, what do I do? So he ends up stealing Goro's soul, which kills him, like he kills Goro. And then he also steals the souls of all of the fighters who died previously in the tournament. So he becomes like a powered up version of himself. But at the end of the day, when he fights Kung Lao, he still loses, and Earthrealm prevails as the victor in Mortal Kombat. Now, because of the timeline reset and all the alterations that have been happening, Goro ends up getting recruited into the Mortal Kombat tournament way earlier on than he's supposed to. This is what really worries Liu Kang, because Goro was the one who killed the Great Kung Lao, so, like, what if he beats him again this time? Then it's over. Earthrealm is done. Outworld wins. But of course, Kung Lao ends up defeating Goro and winning the overall Mortal Kombat tournament. Now the next characters I want to talk about are the new characters. These are the ones that I left very blank and open-ended in my roster video, so we could really do anything we want with them, and here's how I would do it. These three characters, along with Kung Lao, would be the best fighters to come out of Bo' Rai Cho's dojo. So these characters' story within the game would be about learning from the other fighters, the one that are more experienced, and finding truly who they are and what best suits them when it comes to fighting, and what is their strengths and weaknesses. I'm just not good at making like OC characters within Mortal Kombat. It's just not something I like doing. Now, because of the timeline reset, Raiden is no longer a god. He is simply a mortal that is a protector of a small village within Japan. Liu Kang sees how Raiden is a defender of this village and recruits him for the Mortal Kombat tournament on Earthrealm's side. In this timeline, Raiden is a character that very much believes in fighting for those who have very little power or influence, and he fights against characters who uses their power and influence to their own advantage, which is why he hates Baraka, because he abuses and takes control over his Tarkatan people, and Raiden just hates that. So that's why they have a bit of a rivalry going on. But unfortunately, during the tournament, Raiden does not live to see the end of it, as he ends up getting killed by Goro right before Kung Lao steps up to beat him. This Mediterranean warrior is an ancestor of Johnny Cage and has mastered the full potential of his green energy. He uses his power to protect his Mediterranean village, which he is very much known for, and he is very popular within the village, which kind of reflects how Johnny Cage is a famous Hollywood actor. He ends up getting recruited by Liu Kang on Earthrealm's side for the tournament. He is very boastful and cocky, and he's very confident in himself that he can beat anyone, but he does get humbled throughout the story by not only the Outworld fighters who are better than him, but also the other Earthrealm fighters. Takeda is the founder of the Shirai Ryu, the rival clan to the Lin Kuei, as we all know. And he is recruited by Liu Kang on Earthrealm's side for the Mortal Kombat tournament, which is a bit different from how Scorpion usually is, but this isn't like Hellfire, Demon Scorpion, this is just like a regular guy. Now to kind of reflect how Scorpion usually is, he has fire techniques as well as a kunai, but he doesn't use it nearly to the level as Scorpion does. And like Scorpion, he does end up getting killed by Sub-Zero. This Nightwolf is a protector of his native lands and the ancestor to the Nightwolf that we know. He is also recruited by Liu Kang for the Mortal Kombat tournament, and he is a very quiet individual who's kind of a loner type, but he learns to trust his allies throughout the story. But like Raiden, he does not live to see the end of the tournament as he gets brutalized by Reiko. At the beginning, Kitana works for Outworld, but Liu Kang uses his knowledge from past timelines to clue her in on her true past. And when she finds out that she's actually a Denian and that Shao Kahn killed her real father and how her mother committed suicide, she switches sides and goes to Earthrealm. And after the tournament is complete, she sets out to free Edenia from Shao Kahn's grasp. This Sub-Zero is the grandfather of Bi-Han and Kuai Liang, as well as the last remaining pure Cryomancer. So he is not just part Cryomancer like Bi-Han, Kuai Liang, and Frost. He is full pure Cryomancer, which means he has the full potential of what a Cryomancer can do. This Sub-Zero works for Outworld against Earthrealm, kind of like how he was in Mortal Kombat 1995, Mortal Kombat 9, as well as Mortal Kombat 2021. In this timeline, Rain was the champion for Edenia and was going to keep it from being absorbed into Outworld, but he was promised power by Shao Kahn if he threw the tournament, so that's what happened. So within the tournament against Earthrealm, he works on Outworld's side, but he has secret plans to overthrow Shao Kahn, free Edenia, and become its new ruler. Mileena, like always, works for Outworld. When she finds out Liu Kang is talking with Kitana, she tells Jade about it so that Jade can try and put a stop to Kitana switching sides, but Jade ends up actually working with Kitana to switch sides, and then Mileena kind of goes berserk and tries to assassinate both Kitana and Jade. And this is also when Kitana first finds out about Mileena being half Tarkatan, as within the fight, her mask gets ripped off, showing her Tarkatan teeth. Tanya reluctantly worked with Rain to betray Edenia. She was granted more power by Shao Kahn and now works for Outworld against Earthrealm in the tournament. And after the tournament is all said and done, Tanya ends up getting backstabbed and killed by Rain after he reveals his true intentions. Like Kitana, Jade originally works for Outworld, but over the course of the story, she eventually switches sides to Earthrealm. When Melina warns Jade about Kitana's potential betrayal, Jade goes to Kitana to talk with her and help her make the right decision, which ends up being going to Earthrealm's side. So basically, this conversation that Jade has with Kitana is what makes her officially decide, okay, I'm gonna switch sides now. And at the end of the story, Jade helps out on Kitana's mission to free Edenia. Reiko works for Outworld, and he is Shao Kahn's general who he personally sent to the tournament. Now throughout most of the story, Reiko is doing just fine as a fighter on Outworld's side. But when he fights against Nightwolf, something changes. Nightwolf is beating Reiko. He has overcome him as a fighter. But then all of a sudden, Reiko becomes extremely powerful and kills Nightwolf. Just like out of nowhere. And then he fights the Great Kung Lao and actually ends up losing that fight, but they realized that Reiko was not being in control of his own mind. It was actually Shao Kahn who was controlling his every action. Now because the Earthrealm fighters didn't realize this before Reiko was already defeated, nothing happened with like the Elder Gods coming down and forfeiting Outworld because they broke the rules, because Reiko was already dealt with, so like it didn't really matter. Baraka works for Outworld, and he is a very corrupt and abusive leader of his Tarkatan people. And like I said earlier, Raiden absolutely hates this, so they end up forming a bit of a rivalry which culminates in Raiden defeating and killing Baraka, freeing the Tarkatan people. Ermac is another fighter for Outworld. And basically, after Kitana finds out the truth about herself, she also finds out where all the Edenian souls went that died during the merge. Ermac. And so after they get defeated in the tournament, Kitana goes over to Ermac and redeems them by helping them focus their souls, and ends up finding out that within Ermac is her father, Jared. And so after Ermac gets their redemption, they help Kitana and Jade free Edenia. And the final character for this story is Reptile, who also works for Outworld. Now Reptile actually does pretty well in the tournament, actually getting to face the Great Kung Lao, but of course, he gets defeated. Now Reptile is very much afraid of failing Shao Kahn or Shang Tsung, so much so that when he gets defeated by Kung Lao, he begs him to kill him. And of course, Kung Lao refuses, which makes Reptile even more scared of what Shao Kahn or Shang Tsung might do to him. But he ends up actually speaking with Liu Kang before going back to Outworld's side, and Liu Kang kind of alludes to a dark truth behind his race. This makes Reptile very curious, and he goes into the flesh pits to find that there is actually two other members of his species, Chameleon and Chameleon. That was supposed to be cool, but the fact that they both have the same name kind of made it just not. Basically, Shang Tsung held the two chameleons for experimentation and kept it from Reptile so that he would continue working for him. And so Reptile frees the two chameleons and plans to turn on Shang Tsung. And that's pretty much it for the main story of my Mortal Kombat 12, but we're not quite done yet. We still have a side story to go through with different characters and a completely separate storyline from the main one. Basically, in this side story, during the Mortal Kombat tournament, some of the characters start noticing signs of assassination attempts. Things like poisoned food and broken windows, and one of the fighters even had to fight someone off, so that pretty much confirms to them that there's something funky going on. Now because Liu Kang and the Great Kung Lao and all the other Earthrealm fighters are busy with the actual tournament, Liu Kang sends Fujin to go investigate. But Fujin is going to need some help with this, so he also gets Bo' Rai Cho and Li Mei to help him. This leads to them finding out that Quan Chi is trying to assassinate the Earthrealm fighters to prevent them from winning the tournament, so Fujin and his team need to put a stop to him. And with the plot description out of the way, let's get into the characters featured in this storyline. First up, we have Fujin, who can't participate in the main Mortal Kombat tournament because he's a god, and that's just not allowed because he's too OP. But Fujin goes to the island anyway to support the Earthrealm fighters as well as Liu Kang. But while at the tournament, he finds these assassination attempts that I was talking about earlier and investigates and finds out that it was Quan Chi, and so he leads the team to try and stop him. So Fujin in this storyline would kind of be the main character. And then moving on to the main villain, we have... Now the reason that Quan Chi is trying to assassinate the Earthrealm fighters is because he made an agreement with Shang Tsung to do so that Outworld can win the tournament. Now Quan Chi is not doing this all alone, he also has his personal combatants, Serena, Kia, Jataka, Moloch, Draman, and a Wraith. But by the end, he is unsuccessful in assassinating any of the Earthrealm fighters and ends up getting imprisoned in the Netherrealm. Boraicho is working with Fujin to stop Quan Chi. Now, Boraicho also cannot participate in the Mortal Kombat tournament because he is of Outworld, so he would have to fight for Outworld side, but obviously he's not going to do that since he's a good guy, so he decides to go along with this team instead. But unfortunately, during a battle with Quan Chi, he gets stabbed through the heart by the evil sorcerer, which of course leads to him dying, which makes the Earthrealmers very, very sad. Obviously. Unless they didn't like him. But I don't know why you wouldn't like Boraicho. You know what? Let's move on. Li Mei is an Outworld informant hired by Liu Kang to keep track of what Outworld may be planning. Liu Kang does this because he knows from past timelines that Outworld is a very treacherous realm that can't really be trusted, so he hires Li Mei to kind of just keep track of it all. And during the tournament, when Quan Chi plans to assassinate the Earthrealm fighters, she joins the team along with Fujin and Boraicho. And after the tournament is over and Quan Chi is defeated, Li Mei fills in Boraicho's place at his dojo, training the students. Ashura, like Li Mei, is an informant hired by Liu Kang, but instead of for Outworld, it's for the Netherrealm. Ashura was originally part of Serena's team along with Kia and Jataka, but she managed to escape and then planned to stop Quan Chi at all costs. And so when she learns of Quan Chi's plans, she goes to Earthrealm and helps out Fujin, Boraicho, and Li Mei. And when Quan Chi is defeated, she is the one that imprisons him, and also she becomes the ruler of the Netherrealm. Serena, at first, works for Quan Chi along with her partners Kia and Jataka, but with the help of Ashura, she stands up to Quan Chi and betrays him. And after Quan Chi's imprisonment, she works with Ashura in the Netherrealm. Draman is an Oni from the Netherrealm that works very closely with Moloch. He works directly under Quan Chi and is helping prevent Earthrealm's victory in Mortal Kombat. You know, literally everything I just said for Draman, yeah, you can apply that for Moloch too. And the final character in this story is a Wraith that works under Quan Chi. If you didn't know, Wraiths are basically what Noob Saibot is, and it's a person who died then came back to life with shadow and darkness abilities. Now this Wraith works with Quan Chi to assassinate the Earthrealm fighters, but he gets killed by Fujin after Boraicho's death in a fit of rage. And that's it. That's Mortal Kombat 12. Well, my Mortal Kombat 12. None of this is probably going to be in the actual Mortal Kombat 12, but you know what, it's fun to dream. And so yeah, everything is nice and wrapped up. Let's go over everything that I want from Mortal Kombat 12 just overall. First of all, I want the roster to be more unique compared to previous Mortal Kombat games. This mainly means more 3D era representation. The 3D era representation in the most recent games have been absolutely awful. Mortal Kombat 9 had 2, Mortal Kombat X had 4, and Mortal Kombat 11 had 2 again. Why are we going backwards? And you can see with my roster having lots of characters like Li Mei, Boraicho, Reiko, Moloch, Draman, these are all 3D era characters and I want more of that. Second, since this will be another reboot, I want an overhaul when it comes to gameplay. And the main big thing that I want from Mortal Kombat 12 is weapon combat to return from the 3D era. But since it's not 3D anymore, it's not going to be the exact same, it'll have to be a bit different. And the main thing I don't want from Mortal Kombat 12's gameplay are more super moves. I don't want anything like Fatal Blows or X-Rays. Those have gotten old, okay? It's time to go back to when we didn't have those. And the third thing is I want better customization, not only in the visuals, but also how you obtain it. Mortal Kombat 11's customization was pretty terrible, especially when it comes to bringing back classic outfits. You want to play as Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monk Scorpion? Too bad. You want to play as Mortal Kombat X Scorpion? Too bad. You want to play as any version of Scorpion that's not Mortal Kombat 2 or Mortal Kombat 9? Too bad. And so in Mortal Kombat 12, we want more classic options when it comes to skins. And also, it needs to be easier to obtain. We don't want to be grinding for hours and hours just to get one piece of gear or one skin that we actually want. The fourth thing is bring back the old game modes. Like, why are you including stuff like Towers of Time and AI battles when we want stuff like Test Your Might, Test Your Luck, any of the test yours? There are no test yours in Mortal Kombat 11. Why? And well, yes, the crypt was a really big step up, but it can be even better. We need to make it more like the classic conquest modes from the 3D era games. Imagine you can go to any realm in Mortal Kombat, let's say Netherrealm, and you can get gear and stuff specific to that realm, like stuff for Scorpion or Quan Chi. And then you can go to Outworld and get stuff for Reiko, Shang Tsung. Like, how cool would that be? And fifth, we have the story. Listen, I get it, Netherrealm. You wanted an in-continuity reboot so that Armageddon led into Mortal Kombat 9. but that royally screwed up the story. I honestly just think you should have committed to a full reboot of the story, because now there's just these retcons and inconsistencies that don't make any sense. But Mortal Kombat 12 is a good way to fix those problems that you have with the story, because it basically is a full reboot. The only thing that would be carrying over from the past timelines is the fact that Liu Kang is now the protector of Earthrealm. So other than that, you can do whatever you want. And yeah, that's it for the Where to Take Mortal Kombat 12 series. Well, actually, not entirely, because I still have a bonus episode that I have to make about the DLC roster. So yeah, if you're interested in watching that video, make sure you're subscribed and have the notification bell turned on. And if you enjoy the video, make sure to give it a like. And with that being said, that's it for this video, my fellow oddities. I'll see you next time.